Nick Johnson, proven update. We'll recap on all the semi-finals after they're all over, but congrats on Oceania and West and everything else so far, Europe. Looking to Africa and South America first. You've got a few athletes in both of those. I guess Kalian Souza is probably the most well-known of the athletes in either of those semi-finals. Obviously, there's not a lot of spots going. What are confidence levels like there? Because obviously you've got Guy, he's always a shoe-in for one of those spots. You know, you've got Augustine Riquelme as well. Like he's kind of up against it there.
And then Kake is the guy that made it with Callion last year. So that's another name in there. So I think they've got obviously great athletes over there, but there's 3 guys that are really going to push for those spots. The good thing with Callion is he's so young. Last year, we didn't even have him on our radar to make the games. We kind of had that as a building year, and to see how well he did was cool. And now that we have so much data and testing and we've been able to see so much already, his scores stack up really well against everybody we've seen. I wouldn't be surprised if he took the top spot this weekend on that.
Wow, okay. And is that just because you think he doesn't have the same peaks and troughs as the other guys might have, basically?
Yeah, he's been consistent. There isn't a real weakness for him on that one. I think we all know how Guy is going to perform and what he's going to probably win at, right? Those heavy barbell workouts, which is really just a snatch on this one. But Callion scores have been good across the board.
Looking at North America East, then we'll save the best to last, I guess. If you're looking on the male side, so Marquand Jones inherited from Zeus with Tim Poulsen. He's I heard Savan talking about him yesterday. He's been around like years. What's the measure for success there? Is the game stick at the aim? Is that what he feels he deserves?
Yeah, I think for him, he's been in the sport so long. I think it's hard to get your fire lit to a point. And I think when he came on over with us, his coach David, who is business partners with Tim at Forged by Zeus, he said he's found just a new fire when he's been training with us because it's just been more of a community-based approach. He's got to know our athletes really well. I think this is probably going to be the best year he's had in the last few, and he's just fired up because him and Garrett, so the other guy that we have there for the men's side, they're really good training partners, not in person, but they bounce ideas off each other. They both work with David, and I think they're both going to do well.
That's Garrett Clark, right?
Yeah, Garrett Clark.
And then on the female side, so you've got Tia Toomey. Is anything less than winning good enough? Like, is she someone who, say, if she comes like second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever, won't want that because of her general demeanor and like the fact that she's so used to winning, and because she probably also doesn't want to let anyone else smell blood in the water or think that they smell blood in the water, maybe?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because the last time that she competed was the first time in 6 years she'd come in second in anything. So like that, I think she's got a statement to prove this weekend. And to answer your question, I think anything less than first is definitely a failure in her eyes. And I would say in our eyes as well, because it's just something that she is back, we feel, at full strength. The injury in the Open was obviously one thing we had to deal with, but that's completely healed up. So she should be able to give her best effort and more now that she's back from having Willow. So it's going to be exciting.
And you're saying no matter what happens this weekend, wrist is perfect, like it's all back to 100%?
Yeah, she hasn't had any issues. I mean, there was some moments to where she just had to get back into movements because she hadn't done them for 2-3 months, where anybody just has some rust they got to shake off. But that was weeks ago, where we don't see anything wrong with it now.
Caroline Stanley as well. Obviously, she was there last year. Jarrett is kind of working with her, from what I gather. If you look at her and say the other girls that are there as well, you got Logan Philo Luce, you got Chloe Govan David. Is now that Caroline's had a taste for it, is going back the only real measure of success? And like, what's the barometer for the other two then? Is it a game stick or bust for all of those, do you feel?
Yeah, I don't know Logan as well. She's new for us. So I can't really speak on her goals. I mean, obviously, I'm sure she wants to qualify, which is awesome because she wouldn't be there otherwise. Chloe, I think, is somebody that she's such a veteran competitor and she's got some skills to where I think she's going to shock some people this weekend. And I mean, thankfully in the East, you've got those 11 spots to where you can really see some movement to whereas in the West, like we saw with Olivia, if you have one bad workout here, you're probably on the outside looking in. And then Caroline, I think she's a lot in the boat like Colton this year, where I don't know if the workouts really suit her perfectly as she would hope, but she's one of the toughest competitors that we have. And seeing her, she's been to Nashville plenty of times now and seeing how hard that she trains, I think mentally it'll get her through the weekend really well. And I think she'll be really good throughout the test for sure.
Josh Woolley, Mammoth Training Methods. You've got two of the hottest properties in CrossFit competing this weekend in Knoxville. So Jack Farlow, first of all, on the guys' side. Obviously, it's quite a dense field. And from looking at the workouts, though, would it be fair to say that they kind of all play into his wheelhouse very nicely? Like, is that kind of an accurate assessment, do you feel?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like they're all necessarily in his wheelhouse, but they're all things that we've been working on, or that he's relatively, strong at. I don't think he's going to take anything for granted in terms of, oh, like this is a work that I should do well, and he's going to kind of focus on each one, and not get too far ahead of himself. So that was one thing that we kind of talked about on the trip down here was, how do we want to approach the weekend in terms of the workouts and stuff. And it was kind of just decided that we'd go one at a time and reevaluate after every single one. So again, his focus is on the first workout, and then we'll worry about the next one after that.
And every set touch and go on the first workout, is that the plan, or?
No, that's not the plan. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe.
And every bar in the snatch, touch and go too. That's all I want to see. Once
probably not there. Yeah, I don't think we'll see a repeat of Colton. That was pretty impressive. So, yeah, I don't think that's Jack necessarily. But hey, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
He's obviously a younger athlete, and like last year, he had a great year. Announcing himself on the stage, I guess, and then that comes with certain pressures too. When you're traveling down with him, are you kind of reminding him of the fact of, do you remind him of how stacked the field is without maybe crossing a line into putting him off or like making him doubt that he can get through it? Like it's kind of a tight line to balance there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we haven't really talked about the depth of the field. Like I think he's well aware of where he kind of ranks up against his competitors, but he doesn't look at them as, better than him. Like he just needs to go out and do his thing, right? And at the end of the weekend, like as long as he executes his workouts, he's going to be happy with the outcome regardless. Like obviously the goal is to get a qualifying spot for the games, but if he does everything right and it just doesn't happen, like that's sport, right? But again, we haven't really looked at the depth of the field because again, it doesn't matter. Like you just got to go out and do your thing.
On the female side, then Emma Lawson, what's the story there? Is she like feeling good, confident, moving well, no injuries, nothing to be worried about?
Yeah, no, everything's good. Everything's good.
Obviously, quite a stacked field on that side too. You got Tia coming back. You can kind of, in large part, you can go through all the workouts almost and pick someone who has a real strength in that movement or who has a real strength in that type of workout. With someone like Emma, is it like the Medeiros approach to consistency across the board? Is that kind of what you're aiming for this weekend, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's always kind of our approach when we go into competitions, right? Like it's very difficult to win every single event and every single workout. But if you're consistently in that top 5, and then you have the odd one where you might get a first or a second, like those obviously help. But again, yeah, consistency is king in this sport. So again, we're just kind of focused on that. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see her win a couple of workouts for sure.
For anyone that might want to play Heat 1, the Heat 1 app, what couple of workouts there would you be eyeing up for her?
I think you can pick any one of the 6.
Wow. Okay. I like the confidence. And then I'd be letting down both Chase Ingram and John Young if I don't ask about Eric Afolo. What's the barometer for success there? Is a game ticket a likely scenario in your eyes there, or is this more of a toe in the water type scenario?
No, I think there's definitely, I don't want to say the expectation, but I definitely think there is the high likelihood that we could see her going to the games as well this year.
Excellent. YOLO Folo. Perfect. The t-shirts
YOLO,
practically
YOLO
they
Folo.
make themselves. Yeah. Facundo, Mayhem update. So we're heading into the final week of semifinals. We've got 2 weeks behind us. We've had West, we've had Europe, we've had Oceania. You guys obviously had a very successful Oceania. 3 Mayhem teams, or teams involving Mayhem at least, up on the podium there.
That's correct.
This is your crazy busy week, really. You've got pretty much half the field is Mayhem at East, and then a decent handful of athletes down in Copa Sur. You're in Brazil. How has preparation gone this year we'll start with Guy. Obviously didn't have the season he wanted last year. How is he feeling this year?
Okay, first of all, Pedro, I want to congratulate you. I know you enlarged your family. So that's the most important news of the week. Congrats. I hope everybody's doing well.
Thank you.
We love you very much. So I know that many people are very happy for you, and we congratulate you all. Now, less important stuff. Yes, I'm in Brazil now. You see the sunny day here. It's amazing here. I mean, Copa Azul, for me, maybe the most fun of all competitions. People are here are so loud. They're amazed, and they really appreciate CrossFit doing something here as big as this. So yes, I'm here. Of course, Guy is maybe the most well-known athlete competing over this weekend. There's a lot of expectations for him again. I think I talk to him very often, and I was thinking when I was coming here that of course last year was not the season he wanted, but Guy won 3 of the 6 workouts. It was just one very bad workout in a field where only 2 athletes get a spot. If I would compare to, I don't know, many athletes, Pat Werner finished 20 something, this weekend at West, and nobody would say he's a bad athlete. He's one of the best athletes around. It's just maybe one workout that spoiled the year for him. But I know that he's been working very hard, and I know that he's doing the best for him not to repeat what happened last year.
You got Victoria down there as well on the female side. How are things there?
Victoria's a very chill girl. She's very cool. She's very easygoing at this stage of the season. Everything has been done for her, so now it's just waiting and perform. Also, she's the favorite, I think, here in Copa Azul, and that comes also with a big weight of responsibility because people here are waiting to be amazed. And she likes very much the workouts. She's arriving in Rio today, I think. So tomorrow we are going to meet up, do the final touches to a couple of things that we learned through the last weeks of competition, and she'll be ready. And I think that she's going to repeat her victory that she's been doing for the last 2 years in this competition.
I've gotten in trouble before for not saying the full name. So that's Victoria Campos we're talking about there, if anyone isn't sure. You've got a raft of athletes there and in East, like we said. The last couple of weeks, obviously, you've gotten to watch where, athletes of similar builds, similar statures as some of these athletes might struggle or might do well or whatever. You've gotten to learn from some mistakes. You've gotten to learn from some of the best that have done it, like, Pat and Brent and all those guys did it last weekend. Is the advantage of going late, of going in the last week, is that the advantage? And is it an actual advantage when you also have less time then to prepare for the games and maybe too much time leading up to this stage where you can maybe overtrain or overpractice?
Well, I mean, the disadvantage by far is the element of stress because you are waiting over and over throughout the weeks to perform. And, there's a tendency of reanalyzing and reviewing and, changing a lot of stuff. And also, results seems to be better every following week. The first week we were amazed, and then last week was even faster and stronger and whatever. So I'm guessing that that is also an effect of it all. Look, I'll tell you that at least for our athletes, we've been taking a lot of care of them, and I think that they are all of them in a very good state of mind. So they are happy that finally the last weekend has come, and they are looking forward to perform and to show what they've been working on through this last year.
Up in East End in Knoxville, so you've got Roman, you've got Jorge, training partners, as we've spoken about before, Roman Krenikov, Jorge Fernandez. They're obviously going to be vying for one of the spots. Austin Hatfield, like, does that come with complications when there's, you've got like what, 15 guys all going for 11 spots, and there's also these other guys that also want the same spots. Is it a case of like, are there certain athletes there you feel from Mayhem who know what their own expectation is, and it's not one of those 11 spots, and then there's maybe a handful, maybe 7 or 8 who are vying for one of them?
I mean, without any doubt, the East for men it's a brutal, but really brutal region. There's certainly many people are going to be disappointed about the outcome, despite their effort. I mean, you can have a great weekend and still not being able to qualify. As for me, at least, I work individually with my athletes, and I'm trying to provide them everything they need to get wherever they plan to go. And yeah, I mean, it's certainly a challenge when you have so many athletes competing for this number of spots. But we are many coaches. We approach them differently, trying to provide, as I said before, things in the way they need them. And now it's just wait and see. These workouts. We've seen that in the last weekends that the last day of competition has shaken the leaderboard, like putting people that were in first to out of spot for qualifying for the games, and vice versa. We see it again last weekend. So I think that, I mean, I'm hoping for the best. That's the only thing I can say. And I know that my athletes are doing the same. So we will see.
There's some notable names there of people who have, almost made it, or have made it in the past and missed out last year. Alex Caron, Vigneault, Tyler Christovel, the perennial like almost guy for the games. Do those guys? Is it a huge disadvantage for those guys going in the last week when like they've had over a year of waiting for this opportunity to arise again, and they have to wait till the very end then?
It's very individual. Each have a different purpose for this week, and I know that many of them are very confident that this is another step in order to go to the games, but I guess that they don't doubt that they're going to qualify. The other ones, they know that they need to be at their best in order to grab one of those spots. So each of them they found themselves in a different position. And yet again, it's a real complicated field, the one in East. So the one thing that everybody's concentrating is not making any mistakes, because I think that unlike any other region, maybe same in Cap Azul, if you make a big mistake, then you're out. One really bad workout on such a strong field will put you out of contention for a spot of the game. So they need to be extremely careful and not risk things too early, or be a real competitor, and that will for sure maximize the chances.
You got 3 teams there too. You got Mayhem, Liberty, and then Somos as well. You mentioned the team in Brazil too. The team aspect of Mayhem seems to really be coming to the fore. Are you hopeful that all those teams can get through? Is it that simple?
Well, it's never simple. It's never simple, I mean, here in South America, we have the Mayhem Unity team who qualified 3rd in the world into semifinals, and they did very well, but they have a lot of pressure, because now it's time to show that was not a fluke or a one-hit wonder, let's say. So they need to do their best. But we had the chance to learn in how a team should work, at least in order to win the games over and over with Rich. So we of course he's our leader, our guide, and we've seen what he has achieved, and we have taken note. And with him around, we feel that we have a very specific understanding of team training leading to the CrossFit Games or even to semifinals. Look, it has been so far a great season, and I don't have any reason not to think that this weekend is not going to be a continuation of the last weeks.
Last guy I want to talk about, Dre Stoll. Obviously, he was on a team, a few years ago with Rich, won the games. He's back as an individual. What are his aspirations for the season, do you feel?
Look, I'll tell you something. I had the chance to work with Dre in the past, and he's one of the most extraordinary athletes, overall athletes that I ever had the chance to work with. After that year at the games, he went into MMA fighting. Then he went into aerobic sports, and he lost like 25 pounds. Then he brought him back, and now he is in contention for a spot at the games. He's very clever. He's been around for a long, long, long time. He has had the chance to work throughout the years with Rich, and I think that some of these workouts are really good for him. So if he plays things well, who knows? He might be back at the CrossFit Games.
I watched when Andrew Hiller was at Mayhem and a few other videos. Tyler Christofel, obviously, he's almost made it a few years. Does he want it as badly this year, do you think, as he has other years? Like, has he changed his mindset at all?
Yeah, no, it's funny enough. I think that this is the year where of course, he will love to go to the CrossFit Games, but this is maybe the year where there's the least pressure from his side to make it to the CrossFit Games. He has become an individual coach for Mayhem, has a lot of clients. He's been embracing the coaching aspect of sport, and he have to say he's very talented and he's very committed to his athletes. So you know how they say, maybe the one year where you start really wanting it so hard, things happen. On the other hand, yet again, many of the workouts are really very, very good for him. So I keep fingers crossed for him to make it, because I think he deserves it. And I mean, as a friend of mine, I love him very much, and I would love to see him go into the games. I mean, he went as a team member, just as an individual.
No injuries, no niggles, like Roman's firing on all cylinders. All the big guns are all ready to go.
Yeah, I think that there's always a little bit of discomfort here and discomfort there. This time of the season, it's really hard. You went through the opening immediately to start into quarterfinals, to have a couple of weeks or some weeks to prepare for semifinals with the stress that entails. Of course, nobody's fresh from holidays in a Greek island. Everybody's like starting to feel the body heavy, but I think that their mindset is in the right place. So as long as that's the case, I'm very confident that they're going to do well. And yeah, I'm just very proud. I'm happy for this weekend to be unraveling finally.